Rediscovering Gita for the Modern World by Shrikant Soman. Based on Essays on Gita by Sri Aurobindo. Second series, Part 1. The Synthesis of Works, Love and Knowledge. Chapter 2 of second series, The Synthesis of Devotion and Knowledge. Continued from the previous episode 98, Beyond Virtue and Sin, the Gita's View of Dharma. Current episode 99. The Gita's practical application of its metaphysical truths. From lower to higher nature, the path of divine action. Unifying works, knowledge, and devotion. The Bhagavad Gita is a practical guide that uses metaphysical truths to show a path from human imperfection to divine perfection. This passage explains how the text applies the concept of a higher nature and the three divine powers to help us transcend our lower nature and act from our true spiritual self. Key takeaways. The Gita has a practical salvific purpose. The philosophical ideas in the text are not theoretical, they are meant to provide a path to immortal perfection. The divine exists as a trinity of powers. These three powers, the Purushottama Supreme, the Self Impersonal Spirit, and the Jiva, individual soul, are all aspects of the one divine. The spiritual self Jiva is the basis for divine action. By acting from our true spiritual nature, Swabhava, rather than our ego, we can transform our lives into an expression of the divine nature. The path to divine action requires transcending the ego. To overcome the lower confused nature of the three gunas, one must first become one with the impersonal self, which leads to freedom from ego. Sattva is a necessary step towards transcending the gunas. To move beyond the lower modes of nature, a person must first cultivate the highest guna, sattva, which provides the knowledge and ethical discipline needed for inner peace and divine birth. Gita's practical purpose. The Gita is not just a book on philosophy, it contains many metaphysical ideas. But these ideas are not for their own sake. The Gita seeks the highest truth for a practical reason. It is a truth that saves us. It opens the path from our mortal imperfection to an immortal perfection. After giving a key philosophical truth, the Gita immediately applies it. It uses this truth to begin unifying works, knowledge and devotion. The Divine Trinity. We have three divine powers, the Purushottama, the Self, and the Jiva. We can also call them the Supreme, the Impersonal Spirit, and the Eternal Individual Soul. All three are divine, they are all the divine. The Supreme Spiritual Nature, or Paraprakriti, is the nature of the Purushottama. It is free from the limitations of ignorance. The impersonal self has the same divine nature. But here, it is in a state of rest, inactivity, and equilibrium. This is called nivritti. For action, or pravritti, the Paraprakriti becomes the multiple spiritual individual, the Jiva. The activity of this supreme nature is always spiritual and divine. It is the conscious will of the Supreme. It expresses itself as various essential spiritual qualities in the Jiva. This essential power is the Swabhava of the Jiva. Any action that comes directly from this spiritual force is a divine action. Therefore, our human effort must be to return to our true spiritual personality. We must make all our works flow from our spiritual power, our Shakti. Our actions must come from the soul, not from mental ideas or desires. Our life should become a symbol of the divine nature. Overcoming the lower nature. There is also a lower nature of the three gunas. Its action is mixed, confused and perverted. It is the action of the ego, not the spiritual individual. To escape this false personality, we must become one with the impersonal self. Once we are free from the ego, we can find the true individual's relationship to the Purushottama. In its being, the individual is one with him. But in action, it is partial and individual. Being free from the lower nature allows us to realize the higher, spiritual nature. Acting from the soul does not mean acting from desire. Desire is a superficial part of the lower nature. Acting according to our true nature or swabhava does not mean acting on our passions. It doesn't mean doing wrong out of desire. Giving in to passion is not a path to spiritual peace. It is not a way to become a channel for the divine will. The path to purity. The Gita has always said that the first step to divine birth is to slay rajasic desire. This means getting rid of sin. Sin is the lower nature acting for its own ignorant satisfaction. It rebels against self-control by the spirit. To get rid of this, we must use the highest mode of Prakriti, the Sattvic mode. This mode seeks knowledge and a righteous rule of action. The soul within us must sanction this Sattvic impulse. The Sattvic will must govern us, not the Rajasic and Tamasic wills. This is the meaning of all good actions in ethical culture. It is nature in us trying to evolve from a disorderly state to an orderly one. We move from acting in passion and ignorance to acting in knowledge and with enlightened will. This leads to inner happiness and peace. We cannot go beyond the three gunas unless we first develop the rule of the highest guna, sattva.